you say what? Oh, for Christ's sake. It's the VMX show, Season 7.
Hello everyone. Had a few weeks off from the show there, but we are back and ready to continue with the VMX show. This is Season 7, Episode 5. So I got a lot to get through. There's news that I got to talk about, of course. Got to talk about the PlayStation 4. That's a big deal, of course. And I have a guest, Serpent21, or perhaps you might know him as S-Serpent, because there's two S's in the username. He came by. That was actually last week. Thought I was going to get the show up last week. Didn't manage to. So, yeah, he came by. We talked about stuff. We really just shot the shit. So, but I got a lot of questions and comments to get through, so let's get through that. Let's see here. LV09X Music says, "Great show, Necro. Keep up the good work." Well, thank you. Here he is. Serpent21 says, "Disney movies tend to be about trauma. I'm surprised Disney didn't make Snoopy Come Home." Dear Necro, have you heard any news on Rocksteady making a Ninja Turtles game akin to their Batman games? I haven't heard anything about that, but I have to say that would be awesome. I would be toast down for that. That would be cool. And yeah, Snoopy Come Home, that was traumatic. It's true. Dimebag Zombie, let's see. I apologize for asking the question you already answered. There's a lot of questions to catch, and I must have missed it. Anyway, a couple of questions for you, sir. I'm getting into Rush as an exploratory music fan because I found the Moving Pictures record for a bargain, and yes, this fossil still gets his music kicks with the needle-fondling 33s. I like the way he says that, needle-fondling 33s. And I was curious what record you'd point me towards next as a veteran fan. Oh, that's interesting. Well, you know, it depends on what you thought of Moving Pictures. They've had so many albums over the years. Permanent Waves is probably the close approximation of that. Actually, I like it a little bit better than Moving Pictures. But of course, I mean, there's great albums like 2112 and Signals, and you got to get the newer stuff too. The newer stuff is fantastic. I thought last year's Clockwork Angels was the best album of 2012. So. Get them all. Same question, but with Genesis. I own their self-titled album, and then there were 3, and The Land Lies Down on Broadway. Well, you should probably get A Trick of the Tail, and also Selling England by the Pound. And if you like the newer stuff, like if you like the self-titled album a lot, you should get We Can't Dance, which was fantastic. Toi. Will you do a review of Shakes the Clown? It's my top Robin Williams movie, and you said you like his stuff. It's more of a movie recommendation than a question, though. I've never seen it. Never heard of it, actually. So, there you go. And Quatre, do you play many TBS games, like Civilization, XCOM, or Europa Universal? I think he mean... Oh, turn-based strategy. That's what you mean. The type of games you're talking about... Let me finish reading your question, actually. You said, just asking because it'd be cool to see what kind of Civilization you come up with in an LP. The types of games you're talking about, yeah, they are turn-based strategy, but the specific type that you're talking about are called 4X games. 4X means expand, explore, what's the third X? The fourth is exterminate. It's expand, explore... Jesus Christ, I can't think of it now. That drives me crazy. Now, I gotta look it up. This is driving me crazy. I know explore... Expand, explore, and then something, and then exterminate. So I'm looking it up right now. It's explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate. And I'm actually, yeah, I do play them, and I'm a huge Civilization nut. As a matter of fact, I've put over 100 hours into Civilization 5, and I have thought that I might do an LP of it one day. It wouldn't be like a huge epic campaign, but it would be an interesting thing to do an LP on. So anyway, moving on. Savage Broadcast says, agreed, 1 hour photo is excellent. Moving swiftly along, number 1, are there any film reviewers you watch or like? And 2, what are some superhero comics you would like to see get movies? To answer your first question, I don't really watch film reviewers. Like, I'm a big fan of James Rolfe, so whatever he puts up I tend to watch, so I do wind up watching a lot of his movie reviews, but I'm not, like, into watching people's movie reviews. I prefer to do my own, so hope that answers that question. As for number 2, Well, I mean, we're all waiting for the Flash movie. When is that going to happen? And I've been saying it for a while now that Aquaman needs to get a movie, especially since the Aquaman series that's been going on is so good that he's finally getting the respect he deserves. That, trying to undo the damage that Super Friends did to the character. Dreadnought2448 says, "Hey Necro, great show as always. I'm well aware that these are rumors right now, but what are your thoughts on the rumors of the next Xbox always requiring to be connected online and not being able to purchase used games?" Well, I don't know who started these rumors. They said it about the PlayStation 4. We know now that that's not true. They're going let me just tell you, it's never going to happen, because any console maker that does that is going to be basically throwing money at the other console makers. Because if Microsoft were to do that, then everybody's going to say, bitch, please, and run right into the welcome arms of Sony and Nintendo and possibly Valve. So there you have it. It would be a show of immense stupidity to do something like that. As for the always-on DRM, I that's more of a game thing. I don't think that the consoles can really do it, especially since, people use consoles for, especially these days, for more things than just playing games. So I don't think that that's a problem. Cobra DVS says, "Good show like usual. So since last week, I started playing Pikmin on GameCube. I want to pick up Pikmin 2 as well, because I'm really enjoying Pikmin 1. Which one do you think is better? I've heard Pikmin 2 is generally better. Regardless, I will be getting Pikmin 3. Pikmin 2 is probably the better game, but Pikmin 1 had the better story. So they kind of, they do balance out in a way. Apparently there were some issues with somebody. Holy Kale said, "I can't hear the guest. Is it just me, or is there some kind of problem with the recording? Nevertheless, great show." Apparently nobody else had the problem. I didn't have a problem hearing him. Might have been an issue with your speakers or your headphones or whatever you're using. So I can't really say anything about that. I don't have. It must be a technical issue on your part. Is it level 9? It's LVO9 X Music again says, "Necro, other than Rush, what is your favorite band or bands? Great show as always." Well, Rush isn't my number one favorite. They're my number 2. Number 1 is Dream Theater. Also used to be really into Opeth, but they kind of blow now. And Arion is also a big favorite. So there's a few. Drewland94 says, "Thanks for answering my questions, Necro. You really are a knowledgeable individual." Well, thank you. I have another question, though. If the save files were the problem for Bethesda to release the Skyrim DLC, then do you know how they got around this problem? That I don't know. It's not that the save okay, let me explain a little better what I said. I meant I'd have explained it thoroughly. It's not that the save files were the problem. It was that the console architecture was the problem, and it led to the game experiencing memory issues once your save file reached a certain size, which was inevitable with a game as large as Skyrim. It was an issue with the game itself, and I assume that they just patched it out somehow. I don't know the specifics of that, because Bethesda hasn't been too forthcoming with that information. Okay, a lot of people, I don't really want to get into reading every single thing that was posted about the guest from last week. Alex Shannon was here, and a lot of people really, I guess they didn't like his what he had to say, and they didn't like his guest appearance, and a lot of, bashing here, and, and I'm sorry that, you guys didn't enjoy the guest, but really, I mean, the guy came on the show, and, and I think that, really, if you don't like it, I mean, just skip past it. I don't see the need to come on here and yell at the guy and bash him. I thought that was really unnecessary. I didn't want to throw that out there. So I'm gonna skip past a lot of this stuff, but, like I said, I didn't agree with what he was saying either, but that doesn't mean that, you're going to have to... he didn't need that. You don't need all these people coming on, here. If you want to yell at him, go to his channel and do that. You know what I mean? I don't need all the emails and everything. I don't know. I just felt that was unnecessary. I always said, if you don't like what somebody's saying, don't listen. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I really don't know about that. So I'm kind of gloss over this. The the kind of the bitchy comments that I got about the guest. And it's funny because the previous guest, I had the guy who came on and sang One Winged Angel, and that was terrible. And I kind of thought that he might get bashed in the comments, and nobody did that. But well, I mean, you could do it. I admit the guy had balls. But this kid, everybody's bashing this guy, and I really don't. Like I said, I really don't think that was necessary. I don't know what to say about that. I'm skipping past all the bitchy comments on there. The Return of Kali Yuga says, I have 2 questions today. First up, is Tanya from the List Critics really a man? And I'm totally being serious. And 2, do you sport gun control? Wow, I can't believe you're asking such a dumb question. Just because it's a serious question doesn't mean that it's not a dumb question. Like, really? Are you? Is there something wrong with you? Wow. No to both of those. Okay? No and no. I'm going to move on. The Moogle Master says, with all this talk of the Oscars, I have something to bring up. First, Bolt, which is my favorite movie, should have won for Best Animated Picture as well as Best Picture, not Dark Knight, more like Hype Night, or WALL-E, which sucked. Well, neither of those won Best Picture. Avatar should have won as well because that movie was awesome. It was okay. I'm going to finish reading before I reply to this. Hell, Star Wars should have won over Annie Hall back in the 70s. Well, I agree with that. Here's my question for the episode. What is your favorite Beatles song? Mine would have to be Across the Universe. That is all. Favorite Beatles song? I like the Beatles enough, but I don't think that I have a favorite song by them. I guess probably, the whole Golden Slumbers melody is probably, at the medley there. At basically the whole second side of Abbey Road is kind of like one long song, Bolt winning Best Picture? No, that's ridiculous. I know you like it, but that is ridiculous. Unbelievably ridiculous. You're like not Dark Knight or WALL-E. Neither of those won Best Picture. Dark Knight, you say more like Hype Night. You can sit there and call it Hype Night all you want. You're not taking anything away from the fact that it was an excellent film. Avatar should have won? No. Avatar was, fun, but it wasn't awesome like you're saying. If anything, Avatar was let's see, that was the year that it was the Hurt Locker that won. I don't think that should have won. I was going for District 9 because it was certainly the most intelligent film out of the 9 that were there. But your taste in movies, I'm sorry to say, it's slightly suspect there. If Bolt is your favorite movie, I'm not saying that Bolt is a bad movie by any means, but your favorite, really? And you think it should have won Best Picture? It's taking it a little to the extreme. I already replied to this next one because I couldn't help myself, but I have to read this because this is a dumb one. Lord Collins says, ratings are fucked up and should be illegal. It is a serious infringement on our rights. I love this. And I'm going to read you exactly what my reply was. I said, a voluntary system in which developers and publishers send their game to a private company to display a rating as a guideline for parents is a violation of your rights. You, sir, need to grow up. And I stand by that response. Let's see. There's a few... I keep telling you guys not to mark things as spam. But, okay. Puffness asked me, when are you going to play Ninja Baseball Batman? What is your favorite music track in a video game? I'll play Ninja Baseball Batman if somebody requests it, and then it goes through the entire queue, and it comes up. And as for my favorite music track in a video game, well, that's, I'm sorry, I can't answer that. That's a loaded question. He also asked me, do I like Conker's Bad Fur? I don't know, I'm getting a weird vibe from these questions. It was an okay game. I'm going to move on here. Kakarot1436, hey Necro, are you looking forward to any albums coming out this year? Absolutely. There's a new Arion coming out, Dream Theater's in the studio, so I assume they'll have something out. I'm hoping the Scorpions will have one last live album before they finally put it to bed. And, like any band that I like, I'm going to look forward to any albums they're coming out with. Those are a few off the top of my head. Let's see, XX Wicked Neva XX says, since modern controls are 3D and have become so popular in gaming, what do you think the next gimmick possibility could be? You think moving things around a 3D space is a gimmick? Oh, no, you said motion controls in 3D. Oh, okay. See, I read that completely wrong. Well, I don't know. I mean, it seems that touchscreens are like the wave of the now. Even, like the DS started that, and, obviously the 3DS kept that, and the Wii U and the Vita, So that seems to be like the thing. I think people are getting a little like the gimmicks are nice, but they want a core gaming system. At least in America, which is why out of the home consoles, not the handhelds, out of the home consoles, the 360 is the number one selling usually. He also says, I don't know if you've ever answered this, but are there any video games or movies that you think deserve a good sequel or remake? And have you ever seen the movie Clue? Random. I've never seen Clue. No real reason to see it. I never really wanted to see it. As for the games or movies that deserve a good sequel or remake, I mean, all of them deserve a good sequel or remake. Let's see, John Apple says, I wish the VMX show season went on forever. Really entertaining stuff, bud. Here's my question. What are your experiences with video games while being under the influence of marijuana? Was there ever a time in your life when you enjoyed playing stoned and felt that it was enhancing your experience with games? I have never played video games while under the influence of marijuana. As a matter of fact, I could probably count the amount of times that I've smoked that stuff on, both my hands. Probably 6 or 7 times in my whole life. It doesn't really do much for me, so, I kind of think, what's the big deal, And I never got the urge to play video games in that state. I would always just, listen to Pink Floyd or something, Drew Lan, yeah, this one kind of, there's no point of reading this because it's sort of a little out of date. He was asking me if I think the PlayStation 4 announcement will be revealed on the 20th, and we know that it was. I'll be talking about the PlayStation 4 a little bit later in the show. Let's see. YNSU94 said, do you think Nintendo will ever release a new version of the 3DS, like 3DS Lite or 3DSi sort of thing? Well, there is a 3DS XL as for, and I think that kind of takes the place of anything else that the 3DS Lite. The DS Lite looked nice, but it was not very sturdy, and the 3DS is very sturdy, so I hope they don't do a light version. 3DSi, I don't know, it already has the DSi features and everything. I do think that it'll be updated at least once or twice more before the next handheld. Let's see. Alex Shannon, he was my guest last time. He says, before the new episode gets up, I need to address this. What do you think the Resident Evil remake for Game Boy Color would have been rated? Back in that time period, they rated Perfect Dark for the GVC-T, so it's entirely possible that Resident Evil being released for the Game Boy Color might have had its first or likely only M-rated title. No, I think it would have been T because it wasn't that gory. It was pretty toned down. Okay, Irish Talk says, hey NecroVMX, did you ever watch Bugs Bunny the Roadrunner when you were a kid? Of course I did. The reason I ask is this week I came across some old school anti-Nazi World War II Bugs Bunny and Disney cartoons. Have you ever seen any of those? Actually, I have. And I didn't really, I remember I was really little. I must have been about 6 or so. And I kept seeing that the swastika symbol pop up in a lot of the cartoons that I was watching, especially Bugs Bunny. They used that. And I remember I'm like, what does that even mean? They keep using that symbol, and I didn't know what it meant. So I remember I asked my parents about it, and I drew it, and I said, what does this mean? And they were kind of, oh, God, we've got to explain this, And they were like, okay, well, they explained about, the Nazis and everything, and I kind of understood that what Bugs Bunny was doing was just using it as a kind of a generic symbol for evil, And of course my parents told me just don't go around drawing that because, people get the wrong idea. Finally, Razarath92 says, why did you stop doing your top 10 albums of the year list? I found your list for the years 2006 through 2010, but I can't find anything else. Well, the 2011 list is there too, but I didn't do it for 2012 because lack of time, 2 jobs, YouTube, life, Didn't have the time to do all that. That is very time consuming to do that. But Clockwork Angels would have been number 1. Well, let's get Serpent in here. Let's do that now. And, okay, about time. We finally have a Serpent 21 on the show.
Hello.
It only took you to season 7, right?
Something like that.
You've been a subscriber for a really long time.
A few years, about 3 or 4 maybe.
It's about how long I've been doing the channel. I mean,
Oh wow, I
actually,
think
you know what? I could probably, since I have you here and we're recording, this might be a point of interest. I can probably sit here and bring up when you subscribed. Would that be interesting to you?
it'd be interesting. I got an idea about what videos I was watching. I think it was the Doom playthrough videos is where I first noticed you.
Oh, so you think it goes back to that? I think it might go back a little further.
You had already done the Doom video, not Doom 2.
Yeah. Well, you've left hundreds of comments.
Oh yeah.
Hundreds of comments. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at the emails. I'm up to 500 now, and I'm still going back. So I mean, that's something else. And you're one of the few people that subscribes to me that I'm also subscribed to. That doesn't happen too often.
Hmm.
A lot of people ask me, "Will you subscribe to me?" And then I look at their channel and they have like no videos, and I'm like, "Well, what's the point?"
Oh yeah, I've had that a few times. I mean, I used to have a lot more on my channel, and when I became a member of, the partnership with the ads and stuff, I had to cut back on a lot of what I put up, and
Of course.
yeah.
I have 1,168 comments from, and actually, you subscribed to me on October 21st, 2009. And it was way before Doom because the first comments were on my Zelda 2 playthrough.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and that was one of the, not one of the first, but it was not too far after because the first full playthrough I ever did was Zelda 1. And actually, I think that might have been the second playthrough, now that I think of
Okay.
it. So there you go.
Right on. I knew it was some kind of playthrough. I thought of Doom.
No, way
But
before that.
Yeah, I was saying it was something like that because I remember you've done a playthrough on all the Zelda games, the Doom 1, 2, and the first part of Final Doom, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
Yeah.
I think, it might be interesting to see what your first comment was.
Ooh, hope I wasn't a cock.
It
I don't
says,
think I was.
here's your comment. It says, dog's balls, is that a Boilermaker in the drinking game?
Oh. It's probably something you said in the video.
Well, I was talking about the NecroVMX drinking game during Zelda 2, and I was like, yeah, if I say assy, you have to take a drink and all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
So what brings you here today?
Not a whole lot. I've seen that you've been doing the VMX show, and I've tried to become a active participant with list critics with sending in my own lists. I thought, why not? Let me see if I can get on the show, and you said yes. And just going by, the things you've had on the channel, I thought, there's got to be something we could talk about, whether it be, games, and like I mentioned a little bit ago, I don't know if you're recording, I just watched Skyfall. I'm a big Bond fan. And
No, what did you think? I thought Skyfall was awesome.
it is great. I would honestly put it number 3 as far as the best Bond movies.
I have it squarely at number 2.
Mm.
Yeah.
What's your favorite one again from Russia with Love?
No, On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Man, another internet critic out there made this remark, and I definitely agree with him. Can we imagine a world where George Lazenby made more Bond movies?
I think it would have been great. I think that he got really bad advice from an agent who told him, oh, spy movies are passé, you don't want to be in it. And from what I understand, he had a rough time with On Her Majesty's Secret Service because the cast and crew hated him because he came in talking about how he wasn't going to do more than one, and he didn't take it very seriously because he thought that it was bullshit. And it turned out how wrong. He regretted it later, I'll tell you that.
Oh, he definitely did. I had like the very first copy that they put of it on DVD, and they're doing like an interview with him, and you can definitely tell that he let that kind of bite him in the behind, where he says something about, I took a lot of bad advice. I really should have done at least one more.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a better... I like Diamonds Are Forever. It's a goofy, fun movie. I know you don't like it.
No.
Can you imagine how much better that would have been?
Yeah, well, I think that it probably would have been more like the book, though. But actually, I don't think they would have done Diamonds Are Forever with him. I think that it's almost a shame because if you read the books, the natural conclusion to that story is you only live twice. But unfortunately, they had already sort of adapted that.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I've read enough of the books. Of the ones I've read, You Only Live Twice was my favorite.
Well, that was almost the last one because there was one more after that, which was The Man with the Golden Gun.
Yeah, I read a little of that one. It was definitely a bit more of a breezier book instead of these really descriptive dialogue-heavy scene. Well, not dialogue-heavy, but very, Ian Fleming got really, really, really long and going on about things that he was writing about in the books, and when they got good, they got really good, and
Yeah.
that was much shorter by comparison, and I have a hard time deciding whether that one is a better book or a better movie, because the movie is kind of ick. It's not that good.
Oh, no, it was definitely a better book. But you know what it is that it's wildly believed that Ian Fleming didn't actually finish The Man with the Golden Gun.
I heard Kingsley Amis finished it. He wrote Colonel's Son.
That's the strongest rumor. I mean, it certainly was definitely edited by Kingsley Amis, but a lot of people think he might have finished writing it, that it might have been in an unfinished state when Ian Fleming finally kicked the bucket.
Yeah, I think he had like a rough draft of the book, and Amos gave it a polish, and that was it to that one.
Yeah, so because it does read like a second draft sort of novel, although it is excellent, isn't it?
Yeah. Speaking of, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I said,
Yeah.
Speaking of Man with Golden Gun, when we first saw that preview for Skyfall, where they're like, got him in the room where they're saying, I'm going to say something and you give me the first thing that comes to mind, that kind of reminded me of, like, is this going to be Bond brainwashed the way he is at the beginning of the book? I was really hoping for something like that.
I actually, when I first saw the Skyfall trailer, I thought not exactly the same thing. I wasn't thinking of that scene in particular, but I thought overall the plot of it reminded me of the book, not the movie, the book, The Man with the Golden Gun. And there certainly were elements of it in Skyfall, although I think and let me tell you, because you just saw it not too long ago. You just saw it today, right?
Yes.
Let me ask you if you got the same impression that the biggest influence on it was not a Bond movie at all, but it was The Dark Knight.
Well, when Silva is getting away from his little tube, I was thinking, I wonder when he's going to go find Harvey Dent.
I mean, dressing like the cop and how he had everything planned ahead, and some people were calling Skyfall the what's that guy's name that directed The Dark Knight?
Nolan.
Christopher Nolan, yeah, the Christopher Nolan Bond, they were calling it. Even though it's not Christopher Nolan, it's Sam Mendes, but...
I like that comparison better than the best Home Alone movie because of the way they rig the house at the end. I said, don't call it that. I've heard people say that.
That's a dick move.
Yeah. It's like, dude, you're comparing this... Arguably, if we get a Bond movie half as good as this one again, comparing it to a corny kids movie from the 90s, no.
Yeah. And I mean, I liked Home Alone, but that apples and oranges, you know what I mean? And that's not exactly a new concept. That the booby-trapped house is a thing that's been around in film for a really long time.
Yeah.
I mean, like an old classic movie, The Man They Could Not Hang, did that with Boris Karloff. He trapped a bunch of people in a booby-trapped house.
Can't say I've seen it, but I will take your word for it.
Yeah, that's just one old example of it, Okay, so you're a big movie fan. Have you been following my February feature this year?
I have been watching the videos for the Planet of the Apes movies. I am going to be honest, I've only seen the first one. And I mean, I haven't even seen all of it. I've seen like most of it. I think I've seen like right where Charlton Heston and the other humans get captured, and I've seen the rest of it, and I thought it was really good. It's just I never see them on television to watch them, and I would want to try and watch that first one all the way through first. You were talking about the Hannibal movies, and I've seen a little of the first Silence of the Lambs movies, but again, it's never been on TV to watch, and it'll probably be edited to hell, and I can't watch a movie edited.
Well, there's sites where you stream these movies. I mean, I give you the friggin' Putlocker links.
Yeah, if you want to. I mean,
then you just watch them right on. It's like a YouTube type site, except it's movies,
Okay.
And as soon as one gets taken down, they have another mirror ready to go. So.
Here you go.
Yeah. I'm almost done with the Planet of the Apes, though. I put up the battle one a little while ago, and after that is just the reboot number 1 and reboot number 2.
Yeah, I that Tim Burton one that got made, I've heard a lot of people say it's good. I've heard more people say it's bad. I remember a segment briefly on Howard Stern years ago where Ralph was excited to buy the action figures for it.
That's right. He's such a fuck.
Where can I buy them? And then they just did that other one, which I was surprised to find out was a Planet of the... Well, it's whatever it was, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, or whatever that newest one is. Yeah. It's like, oh, wow, that looks cool.
That's exactly the title, and that was awesome. That was really good. I could see Ralph with the... He probably had like the Taco Bell cups, too.
I have to buy Turl. He's the short-packed one. I hate Ralph. I was listening to some clip not too long ago, and I think it was Sal.
He's a horrible, horrible person.
Oh, he is. I think it was either Sal or Gary. I mean, every time I hear something about Ralph, it really just sums it up so succinctly. But somebody said even in this clip that Ralph has never won over the audience. I mean, you've had like times where, guys who, end up turning on Howard, like Stuttering John definitely went over the audience, or even Sal, who I think is the biggest lunkhead they've ever had on the show. I can see when he's gotten the audience, but never Ralph.
I think actually Sal, I think so much of it is persona. I think he's brilliant, to be honest. I think that it's just that he has this whole dumbass persona that he's created for the show.
I think, really, in honesty, I've only laughed at so many of his like prank calls that he's done on the show, and other stuff.
I think the prank call stuff is like a lot. That's Richard Christie's domain more. But like, did you see Show in the Hallway?
Show in the Hallway.
It was absolutely brilliant. It was basically like the Howard Stern version of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Where it was based on something that Howard said. He said there's always like a second show going on in the hallway because of all the drama and shit. And it was basically, it's centered mostly around Sal because he created it, he directed it, he wrote it. And he wrote these like sketches and shit based on real events that happened. But he also integrated actual clips of the actual show into it, which adds to that whole realism. And like the first episode was about like Sal comes in late and like the security guard won't let him in because he thinks he's a racist. And it becomes this whole drama where, he can't get in the building and everything. And, and then they have like a clip, where they show Howard talking about it. This is actually from the show. It's like, oh yeah, Sal couldn't get in the building because the guy thinks he's an asshole and all this. So it like you could almost believe that it's like almost like a reality show, even though it is scripted. It was brilliant. And he created that. So I got to give him credit for that.
Yeah, I'm surprised nobody, to be honest, has done that sooner, because even as far back like the early 90s shows that they've done, you'll always hear about like somebody is like, in the hallway doing stuff. I mean, I think probably the most famous one was when AJ Benza hit Stuttering John. I mean, that was a huge deal going on back there. And there's probably been others, but that's the first one that came to mind.
I think the biggest one actually was probably Elliot Offen getting banned from the building.
Oh yeah, Elliot Offen. If that guy isn't in jail right now, I'd be very surprised.
I mean, like, what did he? I think he punched Gary or something.
I thought he like punched a hole in the wall, like right where you come in by the doorway.
I know he had done that, but I think the final straw was that he actually hit Gary.
Oh, I never heard that.
That's what I think it was. Or maybe he just threatened to. I don't know. Something happened with Gary, and that was like it for him.
Wow. Breaking that cab door off.
No, I think Howard's lost his mind, though.
Howard? What, for
I think he's lost he's lost his mind. He's lost it. He never should have. He should have retired, and he wanted to retire, and then he sits there and he gets like this whole like weird mentality where he's like, if I retire, then everybody will be out of work and they're going to be in trouble and this and that, and it's like, well, that's not your problem. But then he sits there and he thinks about that and he thinks, oh my God, what would happen to Sal? He's going to be starving to death. He's going to be sucking cock on the streets. And then he goes and he does it for another 5 years that he really doesn't want to do. His heart's not in it anymore.
No, I mean, he's done the show for like how many years? I mean, even as far back as like 94, 95, he was saying this is it, and he always signs again, which is
Yeah.
odd. I mean, it's either like easy money for him to do, and it still provides entertainment and income for him. But on the other hand, now, I mean, now he's got all the, these TV projects he's working on. He wants to be a photographer. He's playing chess. The show is
I think
shows.
he's given up the chess.
Yeah.
He's given up the chess and the photography. I'm not even sure if he's doing that anymore. But I mean, like he wants to be the retired guy with hobbies.
Mm.
So I mean, but he sits there and he thinks, oh my God, like Sal's gonna be sucking cock on the street if I don't make sure he has another job for another 5 years.
Yeah, maybe.
I love when they pranked him though, because Sal was late that day that he made the announcement, and they
Oh,
pranked
yeah.
him. That was classic. I mean, I've pulled some pretty good pranks in my day, but nothing on that level.
When you get there on time,
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, people ask me like, "What's the greatest prank you ever did?" And I told the story like when I convinced that chick that I was Frank Zappa. I mean, I thought that was pretty good, but yeah, they got him good.
Oh, wow. Every time, I mean, Frank Zappa is one of those names that comes up often on list critics, usually in those music lists that get given. I'm going to be honest, the only time I've ever actually seen Frank Zappa is on Beavis and Butthead, to be honest.
Yeah, he was on Beavis. He was also on Ren and Stimpy.
Oh, really? Oh, wait, was he the Pope?
Yes, he was the Pope.
Ray, I'm
Yes.
saved. Yeah, he had one of the videos. One of their videos was on their show. During like the video segments, they're watching it. They don't like it. They turn on this really awful like Euro rock thing with these guys and like the wife beaters, and they look like lizards or something, and they think it's terrible. And like Beavis even says, "Hey, Butthead, why are we still watching this?" I don't know. Click, and it's still the Frank Zappa video. He's like, "This is still on." It's from the episode Canoe.
Yeah. So you've never actually heard Frank Zappa's music?
To be honest, no. I mean, I always hear about him. I've never actually.
We're gonna live on the VMX show. I'm gonna send you on YouTube one of his. It's the first one I ever heard. It's probably the weirdest song he's ever done too. And you're gonna listen to this, and we're gonna get your reaction.
Alrighty.
Live on the. This is the first time this has ever been done, because the first time anybody hears Frank Zappa, usually their initial reaction is, "What the fuck is this shit?"
Mm.
As a matter of fact, you might recognize that the background singer. There's a background singer. It's actually Tina Turner.
Oh.
And apparently she was a huge fan, and she did this song with him, and then she went and she showed it to her husband, Ike Turner, and his exact reaction is, "What the fuck is this shit?"
Let's see.
So here's the link.
All right, I'm going to click it now.
Yeah.
Montana.
Yeah, Montana.
Oh, look, an ad. For an R-rated Die Hard. Aren't those PG-13 now?
Oh, that was only one of them.
All right, good.
We like to forget that happened.
Yeah. I'm sorry, they don't have a skip ad button, so I got to hear this.
This is going to be interesting. Just lower it a little, because I can't have it playing on the show.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I think in the background, like, that's not going to be a big deal, though. Yeah. Just love the lyrics in this. It makes no sense at all. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna move to Montana and grow dental floss. Like, what? Really? Huh?
What? Raising my laundry? Is that what he just said?
No.
Oh.
Raising my lonely dental floss.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's kind of like low because I don't want it to like bleed through on the show.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's sort of like, are you a Rush fan at all?
I definitely know of Rush, so I wouldn't say I'm not a fan, but...
Okay, well, on Rush in Rio, there was this whole thing where they were playing La Via Strangiato, and there's this huge solo, guitar solo from Alex Lifeson, and then he starts babbling, and he like plays a bunch of weird notes, and he's like, "That's jazz. Jazz is weird. Kind of like the same thing that goes on in my head." And that sums up Frank Zappa in a nutshell.
I've always heard he was like really unique, and like people who knew him loved him.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it. Right now, you're like, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah, it's like...
And a few hours later, you're gonna be like, "I'm gonna listen to that song again." You know?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that's how it works.
The seed has been planted.
Yeah, exactly. It will grow into a great fail tree. I said that once. I can take credit for the term fail tree. I was on a chat room, and this guy, his name was Tiefus, and it was something like, with these two guys talking, and somebody was saying, like, yeah, my sister can whip his ass, or something like that. He's such a wuss, my sister could whip his ass. And I was like, well, I don't know, you might like that. Is your sister hot? And the guy's like, kinda, but I don't like to think about it. And he said, I try not to think about it. And then we immediately descend on him like, oh, you have to try not to think about it. And he's like, well, I'm Irish, he says. That was his excuse. I'm Irish. Like that has anything to do with anything. And the guy guy's like, fuck you, I'm Irish, and I don't look at my sister like that. And I'm like, you will. I've planted the seed. It will grow into a great fail tree. I was like, yeah, that's great. That paints the perfect picture of her. Red hair, freckles, drunk.
Wow.
Those great two distorted guitar solos he did, too. That's what you're hearing. He would improv these solos at his live shows and record them and then paste them into songs that he would write based around the solos. There's Tina Turner.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah. And I love Ike Turner's reaction. What the fuck is this shit?
Jeez.
Well, anyway, all right. That's enough of that.
All right. Oh, it's like a rocking horse on a playground now.
No. A small, tiny horse named Mighty Little.
Oh,
Because he talks about his pygmy pony, and he'll be riding along the borderline with a pair of zircon-encrusted tweezers.
Huh?
Yeah. You know what's crazy is that Frank Zappa did not do drugs.
Huh?
Exactly.
That's sick.
Because everybody hears his lyrics and his music, and this guy is like whacked out of his gourd. And he actually said that he tried marijuana once, and it gave him a terrible headache, and he was like, never again.
Wow.
He's like, yeah, I'm not into it.
So you always hear the stories sometimes about like how did they get this great idea, and you hear the creator said something about how they were like high once or on drugs, and it's like, wow, you got to kind of go into that area to be able to come up with something like that. And then there's like the even scarier place of where people go where they don't need to do that, and then you got something like Frank Zappa.
Yeah. Well, people like Frank Zappa, I think if they do drugs, they're going to wind up becoming normal.
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah. All right. Well, it was good having you on. And we really basically did just shoot the shit for a while. But hey, why not, right?
No problem. It's all right.
I'm way behind schedule. I got to get some videos done. So I'm going to have to kick you out of here. Great having you on. We'll have to definitely have you on again. That was fun.
Oh, thank you.
And that was the first time I've ever gotten to live over Skype hearing somebody's initial reaction to Frank Zappa.
Yeah, definitely have to check that out. What was that again? Montana?
Yeah, well, that's just one song. He had like 80 albums, so.
Oh, really?
I'm
80 albums?
I'm not even exaggerating. It's around 80 albums, yeah.
I mean, that's not counting like compilation stuff, is it?
No, it's not. And he's been dead since 1993, and they're still releasing like unreleased stuff.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's like the anti-Bruce Springsteen. I mean, he puts all his stuff out, whereas I hear Springsteen just holds it all to his own.
Or actually more like the anti-Peter Gabriel, who writes 100 songs for an album and only uses 13.
Oh, wow.
And then you never hear the other 98 songs or whatever, you know?
Right on.
All right, I will see you.
Thank you. It's good talking to you.
Yeah, all right.
Thanks.
Okay, so thanks again to Serpent21 for coming along. You should check out his channel. He doesn't update all that often, but you should check it out. Anyway, when it gets to the news, of course, we got to talk about the PlayStation 4 release. Now, we haven't seen the actual PlayStation 4 console. I mean, we've seen the controller, which is the DualShock 4. It looks basically similar to the first three DualShocks. But I do like that they finally changed it up a bit. in terms of what it looks like and probably what it feels like. The button layout's still the same. It's still the 2 sticks, the D-pad, the 4 shoulder buttons, and the 4 face buttons, but at least it looks like they're changing a little bit. This will also support PlayStation Move, and it will have the new PlayStation Eye, which last heard PlayStation Eye, I think, back on the PS2 days. But, yeah, did want to talk about this. This will be released. The PlayStation 4 is coming out, I think, November. As a matter of fact, let's see. I think November is the exact month, but I don't believe I have the exact day. Well, actually, it doesn't. Okay, that's just conjecture. It looks like fourth quarter 2013. November is the likely target that they're going for. Now, if you want to hear some specs, it will use a Blu-ray disc and DVD media. It has the AMD 8-core Jaguar CPU. It has 8 gigs of unified RAM. That's GDDR5. There will be custom AMD Radeon GPU graphics card. And it will have, of course, 802.11 wireless internet with Bluetooth 2.1, USB 3, and of course Ethernet ports. And the PlayStation Network will of course be available. It's going to have all sorts of connectivity with the PlayStation Vita. No backwards compatibility whatsoever. It will not play PlayStation 3 games. It will not play PlayStation 2 games. It will not play PlayStation 1 games. Apparently, this is due to going from the cell architecture for PlayStation 3 towards the x86 architecture of PlayStation 4, which is smart for developers because basically they can just develop them as PC or Xbox games, and then it'll be very easy to port over, so you won't have issues like with Skyrim. However, the complete lack of any form of backwards compatibility, I think, is a joke at this point, especially since we don't know the exact price point, but if rumors are to be believed, the price point is probably going to range anywhere from $400 to $550, depending on the version of the console. So, and that's expensive. They're asking for a lot of money. You're probably wondering, what games? Well, Sony has said that and this is what they said, every significant third-party developer is developing something for the PlayStation 4, which is not really anything spectacular to say. We expect them all. But here are some games that are actually confirmed for PlayStation 4. Cyberpunk 2077, which is being made by CD Projekt Red. And don't really know much about this. It's some sort of RPG based on the Cyberpunk series of tabletop RPGs. So there. Capcom is working on a game called Deep Down. No real information on that. Bungie is working on a game called Destiny. Blizzard Entertainment will bring Diablo 3 to not only the PlayStation 4, but it'll also be coming out for PlayStation 3, from what I understand. No news on whether or not it'll hit any other consoles, such as Xbox 360 or Wii U. Evolution Studios is working on a game called Drive Club. Square Enix is working on some sort of title in the Final Fantasy series, whether this is Final Fantasy 15 or an updated version of 14 or perhaps one of the sequels to 13 or a new game like a spin-off or something. We don't know, but they are working on a Final Fantasy game that will be on PlayStation 4 at one point. Sucker Punch Productions is working on the new Infamous game, which is called Infamous Second Son. So that's basically a big one that I think people are going to look forward to. Guerrilla Games is working on Killzone Shadowfall. That one will be out for PlayStation 4's launch. SCE Japan Studio, that's basically Sony, they're working on a game called Knack. As in, you have a knack for something. That's also coming to the Vita. It's a platformer, and apparently they say it's like a cross between Crash Bandicoot, Katamari Damacy, and God of War, which sounds like a nightmare, but hey, whatever. Rocket Birds 2 Evolution is coming from Ratloop Studios. CD Projekt Red is also working on The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Of course, that will also certainly be on PC. But the PlayStation 4 is, as of yet, the only console it's been definitely announced for. We're not sure if there's going to be more consoles announced for that. Jonathan Blow is working on The Witness. If you're wondering who the hell Jonathan Blow is, he's the guy that created Braid. So that's kind of a big deal. And Ubisoft is, of course, working on Watch Dogs. We saw Watch Dogs at last year's E3. Kind of wondered, why I hadn't, heard or seen anything beyond that. It is coming out for PlayStation 4, but it also will still be coming out for PS3, Xbox 360, Wii U, and PC. So this is going to be a huge multi-platform thing. So there you go. Okay, the big question. Will it play used games? Yes. 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 It will play used games. Stop spreading false rumors. As for backwards compatibility, I mentioned there are no plans to let it play PlayStation 3 titles. However, Sony is considering an emulation or cloud options for PSN games with regard to actual native support, meaning, putting a PlayStation 3 or 2 or 1 disc in the machine and playing it. They said, sorry, but no. So that's what's going on. They didn't really mention anything about trophies, whether that'll continue. I assume that they'll have some sort of trophy system. And downloadable content, of course, the PSN will be there. As for the cost of games, it's going to be $60. Of course, indie games and downloadable titles will be less, but that's the basic thing. They're not doing a big jump in price. Price of the console, like I said, the current strong rumors are pointing towards anywhere from $400 to $550. So, personally, I think this is their death knell. I think that they're shooting themselves in the foot with PlayStation 4. I think it's way, way too soon to be talking about another console, especially since, at least here in America, the PlayStation 3 is only really starting to do well. So, I don't know. I'm not sold on this. Anyway, I do have a few other news stories to talk about. Not a whole lot, since the last few weeks have been dominated basically by the PlayStation 4 announcement. We have some news out of Square Enix. There are no plans to make Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn a free-to-play game. This is what Naoki Yoshida said. With the free-to-play model, you'll get huge income one month, but the next month it depletes. Most MMOs have investors in the background, and the company uses the profits and splits the profit with the investor. But if the game's not successful and it doesn't reach the target, then they have to switch to free-to-play to try to get just a little profit from it. Among the MMOs in the market, only those by Blizzard and Square Enix are making money without investors in the background. So basically, blah, 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 we want to make money. But nobody's really playing Final Fantasy XIV, so... Well, we'll see how Realm Reborn goes, but I'm not really seeing it being this huge thing. You know what I mean? I don't really see this being a huge thing at all. We all know that THQ has gotten out of business. Well, they have confirmed that they will be selling off their last remaining assets. Darksiders Destroy All Humans, Red Faction, and more are going to be purchased sometime in May, so we'll see who is going to own the publishing rights to those popular series. If you were looking forward to a game called Splinter Cell Blacklist, which is coming out for supposedly for Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC, these are the only ones they've mentioned, apparently it's also coming out for Wii U, and this has been outed by an employee resume who listed Splinter Cell Blacklist for 360, PS3, Wii U, and PC as a title that he worked on. So that's another game that might be possibly coming to Wii U in the future. Oh, actually, this relates to something I was talking about before. Diablo 3, I mentioned, is coming to PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. I did want to mention that there is no cross-platform play. So people who are playing on PlayStation 3 will not be playing with people on the PC with the PS4, and people playing on PS4 will not be playing with people on the PC and the PS3. So each is going to kind of have their own community, which really, I mean, I can understand... Well, okay, alright. Well, it says there's no cross-platform play between PC and PlayStation 3 and 4 versions. That could be taken any number of ways. I can understand not having connectivity between the PC and home console versions, but I at least hope that the PlayStation 3 and 4 gamers will be able to interact with each other. I mean, that would be kind of nuts if they couldn't. And they have noted that the PlayStation versions will allow offline play and will come with all updates that were implemented in the PC version. So, there you go. There you go. Now, going back to last year's E3, if you remember, Ted Levine had said that he was working, or that he would be working on a new Bioshock IP that would be coming out on the Vita. And apparently it hasn't even started development, and people have asked why. Well, okay. So, this is what he had to say. I've got my fingers crossed that that's going to happen because it's something I want to do, but until somebody starts signing the checks, there's nothing I can do. At the end of the day, I work for Take-Two, and they need to be able to fund that development. And they need to make sure that they have a deal in place that makes sense for them and makes sense for Sony. I ideally wouldn't have talked about the Vita game when I did. It was understandably important that, Sony wanted us to share that information. So basically, the information was that they want to create a BioShock game for the Vita, and Sony kind of pushed them into announcing it before there was anything officially put in place. So that's kind of unfortunate, really, especially for anybody that might have bought the Vita in anticipation of such a game. So there is that, too. Okay, let's see. I think I got time for one more news story before we get to sales figures and announcements and things like that. So here we'll talk about this then. For big fans of Kingdom Hearts, you'll be happy to know that Kingdom Hearts 1.5 HD Remix is coming to the PlayStation 3. That's coming to America and European territories, I believe, sometime in the fall. Yeah, we don't have an exact date, but that's happening. Anyway, so actually before I get to the sales figures, I do have one last thing to talk about, and that is since this is the last show of February, we're going to talk about the games that are going to be released in March. Now, there weren't a lot of games released in February, because February is a shorter month, but a lot of stuff coming out in March, so let's talk about that. So March 5th, we'll see the release of a bunch of games. The Amazing Spider-Man will hit the Wii U. Atelier Aisha, the Alchemist of Dusk will hit PlayStation 3. Castlevania Lords of Shadow Mirror of Fate will hit the 3DS. Major League Baseball 2K13 will hit PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. MLB 13 The Show will hit PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita. Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 3 will hit Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. The Sims 3 University Life will hit Windows and Mac. SimCity will hit Windows and Mac. And Tomb Raider will hit Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. On March 5th, we'll see the release of Darkstalkers Resurrection for PlayStation Network. God of War Ascension will hit PlayStation 3. Hyperdimension Neptunia Victory will hit PlayStation 3. Sniper Ghost Warrior 2 will hit PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Windows. StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm will hit Windows and Mac. March 13th, Darkstalkers Resurrection will hit Xbox Live Arcade. March 14th, Slam Bolt Scrappers will hit Windows. March 18th, Lego City Undercover will hit the Wii U. March 19th, The Croods Prehistoric Party will hit the Wii U, Wii, 3DS, and Nintendo DS. Gears of War Judgment will hit the Xbox 360. Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate will be hitting the Wii U and 3DS. Need for Speed Most Wanted will hit the Wii U. And The Walking Dead Survival Instinct will hit PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. March 21st, Trials Evolution Gold Edition will hit Windows. March 22nd, Dead or Alive 5 Plus will hit the Vita, and Resident Evil 6 will come to Windows. On March 24th, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon will hit the 3DS, and Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Gates to Infinity will hit the 3DS. On March 26th, Army of Two The Devil's Cartel will hit PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. BioShock Infinite will hit PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Windows. Final Fantasy XI Seekers of Adulin will hit Windows and Xbox 360. Pandora's Tower will be coming out for the Wii. Slender the Arrival will be coming out for the Windows. Tiger Woods PGA Tour 14 will be coming to PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. And The Walking Dead Survival Instinct will be hitting the Wii U. On March 28th, Harmo Knight will be hitting the 3DS, and on March 31st, Lost Planet 3 will be coming to Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. Aliens Colonial Marines will be coming to the Wii U. I don't think it'll be any better than the other versions, but here's hoping. Dyad will be hitting Windows. Jane Jensen's Moebius will be hitting Windows. Leisure Suit Larry Reloaded will be hitting Windows, Mac, Linux, PlayStation Network, Xbox Live Arcade, iOS devices, and Android devices. And Metroid Last Light will be hitting Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. Crazily, a lot of games that I want, and two of them coming out on the same day. I'll definitely have to be picking up BioShock Infinite. I already have that pre-ordered, but I also have Pandora's Tower pre-ordered. That's coming out on the same day, and of course Castlevania next week. So, that's sort of a big deal. Beyond that, in April, I'll be picking up Injustice, and there's more coming out. But that's what's going on next month. But let's talk about what went on last week in terms of sales figures. So let's start off with the top 10 best-selling games in Japan for the week ending in February 17th. Dragon Warrior 7 was the big winner. That's on the 3DS, and that sold 185,045 copies. Animal Crossing New Leaf for the 3DS sold 78,085 copies. New Super Mario Bros. 2 for the 3DS sold 11,842 copies. Taiko no Tatsujin Wii Super Deluxe Edition, that's on the Wii, obviously, that sold 10,147 copies. Monster Hunter Tri for the 3DS, we know that one as Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, that sold 9,177 copies. Fantasy Life for 3DS, that sold 8,802 copies. Demon Gaze for PlayStation Vita sold 8,128 copies. Taiko no Tatsujin Chibi Dragon Tufushugi no Orb, that's on 3DS, and that sold 7,330 copies. Paper Mario Sticker Star for the 3DS sold 6,830 copies. And Call of Duty Black Ops 2 for PlayStation 3 sold 6,742 copies. Over in Europe, this is unfortunate, the big winner, Aliens Colonial Marines for Xbox 360, 90,455 copies sold, and the PlayStation 3 version at number 2 with 61,011 copies sold. Sure, a lot of very disappointed people out there to find out it wasn't that good. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 on PlayStation 3 sold 32,679 copies. Dead Space 3 on the Xbox 360, 30,726 copies. FIFA Soccer 13 on the PlayStation 3, 29,271 copies. Dead Space 3 on the PlayStation 3, 27,153 copies. FIFA Soccer 13 on the Xbox 360, 25,830 copies. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 for Xbox 360, 25,368 copies. Aliens Colonial Marines PC version, 22,368 copies. And Far Cry 3 for PlayStation 3, 21,057 copies. Here in America, once again, very unfortunate, Aliens Colonial Marines for Xbox 360. It looked good. I was looking forward to it, and then I saw the reviews, and I saw some videos of it, and I'm like, oh, it looks really bad. What did they do, Well, the Xbox 360 version was the number one selling game in America there. 212,343 copies sold. The PlayStation 3 version at number 2 with 100,366 copies sold. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 for Xbox 360 sold 43,315 copies. Aliens Colonial Marines PC version, 40,962 copies. Fire Emblem, it has the Japanese name, Fire Emblem Kakusei. It's Fire Emblem Awakening for 3DS. Sold 40,649 copies. By the way, I got that, and it's fantastic. It's an amazing game. Dead Space 3 for Xbox 360 sold 38,965 copies. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 on the PlayStation 3, 30,137 copies. Far Cry 3 for Xbox 360, 24,776 copies. Dead Space 3 for PlayStation 3, 23,150 copies, and Halo 4 for Xbox 360, 21,669 copies. And I'm looking at this, and this is kind of amazing, because I'm looking at the top 10 games here in America. Aliens Colonial Marines, first-person shooter. Call of Duty Black Ops 2, first-person shooter. Aliens Colonial Marines, again, first-person shooter. It's on there 3 times. Fire Emblem, okay, turn-based strategy. Excellent game, by the way. Dead Space 3, third-person shooter. Black Ops 2 again. Far Cry 3, first-person shooter. Then Dead Space again, and then Halo 4, first-person shooter. So definitely the week of shooters. Certainly. Globally, Aliens Colonial Marines was unfortunately the big winner, despite the immense backlash. Dragon Warrior 7 after that, and Black Ops 2. Dead Space did really well. Animal Crossing, Alien, Fire Emblem Awakening were all the big winners. For hardware, let's talk about the hardware. Starting in Japan, the big seller was the 3DS. 99,806 of those were sold in Japan. PlayStation 3, 15,225 units moved. The PlayStation Portable, 10,458 units moved. The Wii U, 10,303 units moved. The PlayStation Vita, 7,760 units moved. The Wii, 1,677 units moved. The Xbox 360, 490 of those sold in Japan, and the DS, 120. I can't imagine that there was 120 people in Japan that didn't have a DS. I think that maybe they're replacing their old ones. Maybe they broke. Just get the 3DS. I don't know. I just can't imagine that at this point. Okay, but in Europe, the big winner was the PlayStation 3. 54,966 of those sold. The 3DS, 31,926 sold. Xbox 360, 27,088 sold. The Vita, 9,323 sold. The Wii U, 8,709 sold. The Wii, 8,385 sold. The DS, 5,530 sold. And the PlayStation Portable, 1,749 sold. Here in America, the Xbox 360 came out on top, 55,495 sold. PlayStation 3, 39,801 sold. The 3DS, 21,986 sold. The Wii, 12,929 sold. The DS, 12,612 sold. That's quite a lot, actually, for DS. The Wii U, 11,636 sold. Vita, 6,512 sold. And the PlayStation Portable, 824 of those were sold. So globally, the big winner, the 3DS, PlayStation 3 came in at number 2, Xbox 360, Wii U, Wii, Vita, PlayStation Portable. The DS was last. Wonder how much longer it'll be on these charts. But think of how old the DS is. It's sort of amazing that they sold globally almost 20,000 of them in a week. You know, who doesn't have a DS at this point? I think anybody who doesn't have one probably doesn't want one. That's the way I think of it. But anyway, that's the show for this week. See you guys next week. And if you want to be a guest on the show, get me on Skype and we'll work something out. See you then. VMX out.